The old adage goes, time waits for no one.
The Shanghai Dragons will not be denied.
And our heroes must race against the clock. Victory or defeat can happen in the blink of an eye. In the final tournament before the push for the postseason, time is ticking away.
Huge
Oh
sleep.
boy, the sleep dart connects, absolutely massive! Time to make your mark in this season.
Oh, nice shot!
Time to rise to the top.
That's incredible.
Time to put up, shut up.
You gotta feel for these guys right now.
Time waits for no one.
How are they still alive? How is this fight still going?
It's the final chance for glory before the postseason.
They will not be stopped in their time of need. What an upset.
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
The Countdown Cup starts now.
Welcome back, everyone. The Countdown Cup continues on, this time in APAC. ZP here with Jake, and Jake, the APAC region should be something special as we watch these matches unfold.
Yeah, the qualifiers up to this point have certainly been interesting. And remember, this is the Countdown Cup. This matters a lot when it comes to setting up the stage for playoffs. You want to prove not only to other teams, but also to yourself, building up that confidence that you are the best team come playoffs.
You take a look at the bracket to get the teams where they were, and it's been a crazy round of qualifiers here. Some surprises to be sure. Of course, there always is with new hero pool, new meta. But you take a look at, your eyes don't deceive you, that is Chengdu at number 2.
Yeah, normally we see Chengdu, a team that has had some tough times here in the Asia-Pacific region. However, it feels like the meta came to them this Countdown qualifier around. So I think that's pretty great for them. And as well, even when we go back to this world without hero pools where everything's available, Chengdu, they've managed to continue playing their flavor and playing it with success. And that's left a real mark in the APAC region.
And you take a look at the prize pool, the teams are playing for more money than ever, where, you know, we talk a lot about, but there's so much at stake here in these tournaments where you're not only playing for the bonus wins to give yourself a better seeding in the playoffs, but there's a big reward in the here and now.
Definitely, it's I think that really makes a difference to these players, especially in terms of these sort of not qualifying matches rather, but the Countdown Cup matches that you're actually playing for that momentary win. And at this point, you're very close to playoffs. Those bonus wins, they're not going to make or break you. They might affect your seeding, they might move you around a little bit, but playing for that cash, that's a direct prize right here, right now.
That brings us here to our matchup of the day. To kick things off, it's going to be the Spitfire taking on the Hunters. And looking at the Spitfire starting roster, not a whole lot of surprises here. It's a roster that throughout the year, Jake, has shown flashes of brilliance, has shown times where they can be really good, but the last few weeks have not been quite as kind to the Spitfires. They're still looking for their footing.
Yeah, there's a lot of rookies on the team. One thing I like about this team is, it's not going to get them noticed, not going to get them highlighted the way a team like Chengdu is, but just they're a very standard team. They're going to stick with the meta, play what's dominant, and play it decently well. They haven't really been able to break out and be at that very, very top echelon of teams. However, I think it's very respectable, the performances they delivered, and it's very possible that Chengdu could out-meta themselves if the standard meta ends up prevailing here.
And speaking of Chengdu, taking a look at their starting 6, I mean, anytime you look at the Hunters, this is a starting roster that is chock full of individual talent. Not always does the meta really align with what they like playing, but right now, Jake, it really does, and this is probably why Chengdu is at number 2 right now.
Yeah, in particular, the players I think of are Ameng, of course, on the Wrecking Ball. He's constantly been tearing it up on that hero, so when he's able to make that work, consistently forcing it, the team just looks incredible. I think Yveltal, on his Mercy, he's actually really, really top tier on that hero. Manages to stay alive in situations where many others would fall. And then, of course, you have players like Jinmu and Leave who can perform really well, have a nice balance there between that flanking DPS, projectile DPS, or hit scan and flanker.
Yeah, and this is a team that enjoys playing DPS heroes in crazier ways. It definitely enjoys playing around a Hammond, and right now the meta has definitely been just favoring that. So I think right now, regardless of how the overall playoffs may sort out, it's very possible that this could be Chengdu's month. And of course, the quick test here is just going to be against the Spitfire as we head into map 1, which will be Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, this is going to be a good map. We're going to see probably some strategic diversity. You have to imagine the Wrecking Ball from Ameng is going to be coming out on the Garden stage. I mean, it's one of the best stages for Wrecking Ball, in all of Overwatch, potentially, certainly on Lijiang Tower. But then we've also got very, very different stuff. You know, something like Control Center. Seems like the Junkrat and the Sim are like the meta at this point on that map. Really, really dominant choices, give you so much power when you do win the mid-fight.
So you're already talking about Junkrat, and I'm just going to say that we haven't even gotten to the match, and you've already filled the bingo square. It took no time at all.
I'm a man of the people. I want to deliver bingos in the here and the now.
Yeah, well, that's what's important. But now we are heading in the map one. It's going to be Lijiang Tower, and you know, you're absolutely right when you talk about Hammond and Among and what he's able to bring to the team, where this is just a meta that really favors what Chengdu is good at. And do you at any point really expect them to swap off of that?
Well, what impressed me was that obviously during the hero pool where the Wrecking Ball was a lot more of a dominant choice, of course it doesn't surprise me at all that Chengdu was really successful. But what's been more impressive is the fact that they've been able to carry over that style even when heroes like Orisa and Ana, they're back in the pool, they're ready to potentially counter a Wrecking Ball. Chengdu hasn't really been perturbed by that. They're continuing to stick with their style and play what's effective. However, now this is going to be the real test. Can they continue to make that work? And with what London is looking like they want to roll out on right now, this is actually a much more conservative version of Dive. No, London actually just trolling me, switching all the way back to a Rhine composition. This is going to make it pretty difficult for Among. Speaking of, though, he's got McCree and May to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, London is running something that should be able to make things difficult for Among, but on the same note, he's seen everything. We'll see what he does here. Goes in, gets the immediate pile driver, takes down Glister. The aid of Kyo. That was a great opening for Chengdu.
This is such an impact mid from the Wrecking Ball. Not only does he shut down the enemy McCree, now the May falls as well. So, yeah, the two heroes I just talked about as being a threat against the Wrecking Ball, well, they're both dead. So, how did that work out for you, London Spitfire?
I think there might be something to the idea of just play a hero in all circumstances until eventually there are no more counters. You've seen it all. What a great start for Chengdu. And now it's up to London to retake.
This rotation looks pretty awkward here. I think the idea is to get on the back line, pressure Kyo, but it's going to be very hard to do that. Jinmu's just constantly raining in death from above. And London, they want to fight on point, but awfully slow setup to this fight. I think they're trying to wait for Hylie's coalescence.
Chengdu right now going for initiation. Among to the back, although getting taken out immediately. We're just seeing this Hammond to Ana connection on the finish. J-Mac nowhere to go, and right now the Spitfire look a little bit lost, Jake.
Yeah, that they do, but that's the power of Dive, right? You're being attacked from all sides. Leave does take a slip off the map. Jinmu with a barrage just to close things out. Potentially unnecessary, but it's an ult that you're never going to use at the start of the fight anyway, so let's see a little bit of a replay action here. What did Kyo do on this mid? It was a nice nade, I believe, to catch the McCree. Somehow just slipped it over that Rhine shield. Nice
That
little
was great
opener on
positioning.
mid. Makes a big difference killing off the enemy McCree like that. Oh, no.
And Jinmu! Oh, the damage boosted rocket finding Sanguinar early, and the Chengdu Hunters, they're just going in on this right now. Absolutely no chill whatsoever. Glister attacked on all sides, nowhere to go. And the Spitfire, they're just getting rolled over right now, Jake.
This looks an awful lot like round over. I mean, it's still possible for the Spitfire, but they're going to need to win a fight without Sound Barrier, most likely. Sanguinar, you can see he's fallen behind in his ultimate charge to the percentage of the capture point, which is not a good sign on your first ultimate of a Koth round. Chengdu, meanwhile, sitting on 5 ults. Jinmu doesn't have barrage, but, I mean, you've got so many ways to combo. You can just nano Jinmu. He doesn't really need the barrage to camp with the grab.
The only way Spitfire win this is if Glister just clicks heads in a way that they haven't been clicked before. Every shot's going to have to land, otherwise Chengdu just wins this on pure ultimate power. Late Young right now, waiting the setup with the grab. Graviton's out. Where did the Graviton went off to the left side. Not really sure what got caught in there. Meanwhile, the Hunters on the back. Sanguinar down immediately, and Jinmu just ran rockets. They don't even need the Graviton, Jake.
Completely unnecessary. You're going to nano a Tracer. Heinun is out, but it's forced to be canceled because of the pressure from Leave. And I mean, this is an easy round for the Chengdu Hunters. Looking incredibly comfortable. And this isn't even the best Wrecking Ball map on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better for London from here. And you talk about analysis for this round, Jake. It's almost hard, right? Because Chengdu, they were just getting solid initiations, early pickoffs, and every fight where it never really felt like London got a full even fight in that entire round.
Yeah, and for the comp that the Spitfire were running, the fact that they didn't choose to run a Symmetra, they did get caught on that first initial cross to point. You could have elected to try and, go around the coast, although, of course, that presents its own risks. I think their comp in theory can work, but you know, when you just never make it to point, you never actually get to that situation where your comp is designed to play for that, where you want to just be sitting on point with your Reinhardt. But now both teams looking like they want to set up a potential dive mare. We'll see if London pulls the bait and switch on me again. Looks like both teams are going to commit though.
Yeah, this time they're heading out. Winston on one side, Ball on the other. What does that mean for the matchup here?
Well, actually, I think London should be the aggressive team here. They're trying to jump on top of Leave here, see if they can shut him down. On the other side, yeah, as well the Mercy. So a lot of greed on the side of the Hunters. They are going to outdamage in a long fight if they can survive it.
Among, under a lot of pressure, just simply shakes it away, gets healed back up by the Ana in the back. And now Chengdu healed up, ready to go back in. And the Spitfire finding themselves on the back foot as Chengdu take to be the aggressors here. They throw the Winston up there. J-Mac in real danger, just barely able to step to the side. Both teams at a full 6.
Yeah, I don't love this playstyle from the Spitfire. They're playing awfully passively. Ameng does get moved off the map. Nice play by Sanguinar. Late Young, though, if he can start to win this fight, it's looking dicey.
Late Young has been so incredibly impactful on the Zarya. Chengdu, they heal back up. Valkyrie in play. London, they got control of the point a moment ago, but Chengdu still very much in the fight. Heading back over. Amon back into the fray. Spitfire again dropping Nano onto J-Mac. J-Mac looking to build a Primal, and the Nano does all sorts of work. Exactly what J-Mac needed.
Yeah, it's really just the rally that's dominating here. Late Nano Blade, but this does not look to be enough. Jinju gets one, gets cut down, but that's your most expensive ultimate combo, and the Spitfire have been holding onto the point this whole time, so the mid-fight does not really get much better than that if you're a fan of the London Spitfire right now. Sitting on a Graviton Surge, Jinmu forced to swap, Leave as well, so everything reset for the Hunters. The Sombra, I think, is going to be rough here as well. There's no Wrecking Ball to hack. You just focus on Genji hacks or something.
Also, it's a late time to swap Sombra. I mean, you're looking at maybe just one EMP for the rest of the round. It's not the ideal situation. Late Young is going to start the Graviton. They're looking for the early pickoff. Bernard, though, counters grab for grab. Spitfire still at a full 6, but okay. Bernard can't get away. The Hunters now at 6v5. Both many members still pretty low, though, as J-Mac uses the Primal. Catches a Vettel on the side. The Spitfire still keeping the point in contest as this goes on, and, you know, Late Young struggling to build some energy. Back up to 70, but now slept.
Although he managed to dodge the sleep from Hiley, gets one, but I think that is rather dodging it from Kyo, but I think that's all he needs, actually. The one kill. Hunters, they are going to most likely be able to flip this point, if only because of Late Young and Break still fighting it out on point, but it's a point where it's so easy to stall. It's, you know, it's still a last fight situation here for the Spitfire. I think there might have been some miscommunication there. Maybe the pressure on the Hiley was just too extreme because he couldn't find the Nano onto his Genji.
Yeah, I mean, that fight got sloppy on both sides to a degree. It ended up being a very long, protracted fight, both sides trading out. Now the Hunters are in control. They have the EMP, but ultimate economy becomes so key here, Jake.
Yeah, but that EMP is, you know, one of your best tools in this sort of situation, so this looks awfully doable, especially Grab coming online very quickly. And retaking point from a Sombra, I think, is a lot more difficult. She can play defensively, not forced to actually make plays, rather than just counterplay you. As the Nano Winston from J-Mac comes in, and there's an EMP shutdown.
EMP in from Jinmu, Blister immediately taken out, and this is a little bit rough for the Spitfire. They invested the Nano there to save J-Mac, but the EMP comes out, shuts it all down. And now the Hunters, a very, very key team fight win. And do you see a pathway forward here, Jake? Because the Hunters have seemingly turned this around.
Absolutely. That's the ideal usage of the EMP. Not only do you only use one ultimate to win the fight, but you force the enemy to commit. They use their Nano, and you just respond with the EMP. So now, once again, Chengdu find themselves sitting on 5 ults, and they're in very good position to come back into this round. The Grab 20% lead for Late Young over Bernard. So Bernard, you know, he's got to try to finish charging this up, but it's going to be really rough, in particular for Although with the Genji. That Blade is very likely going to be walking into a Grab.
Yeah, the other problem, too, this could be final fight if it lasts long enough. Late Young drops a Graviton right into the White Room. Amon going in, drops a Mines, and there's Leave in the back. Connects on the Pulse Bomb, takes down 2. And now the Spitfire. The upside here, Jake, is that they're falling quick enough that they should be able to get back, but if they get staggered at all, that could be it.
You're going to have another fight, and you will also have this Grab to combo with 2 DPS ults. The only challenge is going to be surviving. However, this is very likely for London Spitfire to win. At this point, the Hunters need to make some sort of big play. Kyo and Veltal don't have the best defensive ultimates. They have their ultimates, but they're not the real answers to survive a Blade, Pulse Bomb, and Grab.
Jinmu's almost built up another EMP, so it'll be a second EMP since swapping Sombra. The build has been fast. Now Jinmu looking for the 7. The ground top by Bernard already used. Ends up getting his life for it, but there's Glister! Got the combination. The pulse bomb takes down 2, although slashing around here on Genji. And the Hunters, EMP or no, wasn't enough to shut down the Nano Blade nor the Grav. And the Spitfire very close to taking the round.
Leave drops a pulse bomb, doesn't get anything. Genji gets the cleanup. Jinmu is going to find this last second touch, but he's going to be instantly forced to TP. Ameng still fighting it on a point, but you can see the numbers advantage here is just overwhelming for the Spitfire. We should be going to control center. However, the contest still coming in. If Late Young falls, though, that's surely the end of it.
Yeah, Late Young getting taken out towards the end. And look, we've seen crazy comebacks on this stage in particular, but the Hunters now very much out of the fight, and you can only touch for so long, which brings us to Control Center, Jake.
Here we go. This is the map that is really hard to predict, even regardless of the results of the first 2 rounds. I don't think they're going to give us any information to predict round 3 because Control Center is just a complete 180 from the other 2 maps on the Zheng Tower. One of the reasons I think this map is so interesting is that Control Center just completely throws a wrench in the works. And we'll see if the Hunters like to continue forcing this Wrecking Ball style. I mean, that would be impressive. If they can make it work here, I feel like they can do it anywhere because this surely is not a great map at all for Wrecking Ball. No real boop-off potential. London, though, are interestingly enough not going to run an Orisa here, which is pretty surprising. But some teams made this work. The May, maybe you can wall somebody off, pin with Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem here is that Ryan is so good at just exerting force in Control Center because of how closed in it is. It makes this dive from the Hunters so much more challenging.
And Glister somehow catches one in the back. Veldal dies to the teleporter. I think caught by a nice little trap play.
Yeah, it's not a great start for the Hunters. I mean, this essentially could be giving Spitfire first control for free. Now it's definitely going to be the case. Among got cut out by Bernard, and you know, it comes back to the idea is Hammond the right choice here? And it's going to be hard for the Hunters to make work.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it on this stage, frankly, especially with the comp London's running. You've got Sim, who's a hero who doesn't care too much about being booped around. However, that is the nice boop there, and Leave gets the combo, but he can't even finish off the Sim, so it's going to be another retreat. But Jinmu does get one with the help of a Bionade from Kyo.
Enough chaos was created between the Doom and the ball heading in. Jinmu got to the back, wasn't taken care of, and the Hunters just immediately flipped. So, you know, whether it be ideal or not, the Hunters make it work with a very quick retake.
Glister is going to switch over to the McCree. I think that makes sense. Sim is a hero that's more designed for the mirror match. You know, McCree gives you a little bit more utility against these DPS that Chengdu are fielding, who, by the way, have managed to charge up their ultimates incredibly quickly and diving into the spawn. This is highly aggressive, potentially unnecessary, but, I mean, if they get away with it, well, they didn't get away with it. Not clean.
No, not at all. Amon got frozen out to the side. Leave now, using the Meteor Strike as a get-out-of-jail-free card, immediately evacing. And now the Hunters have to bend back a little bit. Amon can get back to this fight. I mean, essentially, ball respawns a lot quicker just by rolling back in. Here we go, Jinmu, Nano Blade, back! 1 slice, 2 down. Gets pinned, but still doesn't matter in the end.
It's nice, the Nano with the damage boost means you don't even need to use your dash combo. Just chops up the supports with 1 hit. That's the power of that Mercy and Ana to enable a Genji, the next level superpower blade. Pretty incredible stuff to deal with. However, you're going up against a sound barrier, so you might have a Graviton Surge, but I mean, look at this aggression, though. This is incredible. I never expect aggression like this, and it doesn't get anything, but does charge molds by a little bit of time for the Hunters. They're so good at poking and somehow managing to escape with their lives.
You're never safe, is the correct response there. Normally you'd expect the fight to be at the choke point, especially with Grav, but they engage a little bit earlier. Now the Graviton comes out. Let's see what the fall-through is going to be there. Sanguinar beating in response, so London looking very healthy here so far. The flux from Bernard into the back. And the Spitfire, they deal with the Grav pretty well. It's going to give them control of the point.
Yeah, Sound Barrier is something of a trump card in this matchup. The problem is that you just don't have it up that often. Ameng is being incredibly annoying right now. Charging up almost another minefield as well. And, I mean, what now you got to be worried about for London Spitfire is how do you deal with the next superpowered blade? And, you know, Kyo and Jinmu, they're very close to having that combo ready. You know, a couple feeds on the Wrecking Ball, and you're just going to have that Nano Boost ready. Jinmu, he's going to be on time with the blade as well.
You know, on some level, J-Mac dreams of just landing a Shatter in response, but I think the Shatter is going to come out this fight. You take a look at how he's positioned, goes forward, drops the Shatter, puts Kyo on the ground, but the Hunters got to the back. Jinmu pulled out the blade early, but there's the
What an incredible pin from downtown on the Genji. The stuff of a Reinhardt dreams, but now it's Leave just taking over. Nobody took care of him. They're trying to stop Jinmu, and the res comes in as well. Leave saves his friend. Everyone keeping Jinmu alive. Wow, this is an incredible round from the Chengdu Hunters. I can't believe they made Wrecking Ball work on this stage. I mean, I feel like they should just never swap off for the rest of the series. Like what do I know? They're just gods at this comp.
You've just proven it beyond belief. The Spitfire now, Bernard, emergency ball. Spitfire trying to make something happen. Juventus down. Spitfire getting back into this fight. They're taking out Keo. The Spitfire not quite dead yet. Even as the Hunters are swarming over the point, the Spitfire somehow, some way, delay long enough to make this more competitive. Among now going to be a little bit of delay, but his team is down all around him.
Yeah, London's got this fight, man. 2 healers versus 0, so Keo even going to switch over to the Lucio. Desperation modes, he's probably going to have to switch back, I would imagine, and reset his ultimate charge. You just got a Valkyrie to work with. Luckily, Jinmu managed to get so much out of that fight. He almost has another blade. That might be the sort of pace that the Spitfire just aren't ready for. Bernard going to switch over to the Zarya as well. He'll have a bubble to block potentially 1 slash from Genji, but and you don't have a strong ult counter. Sanguinar only at 75%. Jinmu surely is going to have that ultimate online first.
Late swap board to the break here from Keo. Is that just because there's not going to be a nano?
I don't know. Hold matchup, I think.
Hold the thought. Jinmu, Blade, J-Mac down. The Hunters, they're going for it here and now. 2 already down, courtesy of Jinmu. And the unchecked aggression here from the Hunters coming in big. London, do you have any more miracles left up your sleeve? Because you need it now. Both DPS down. And this time it's looking like it's Chengdu's for real.
Yeah, well played on the Valk blade. Beat does come down from Sanguinar, and you do have a few more ultimates available for London, so this could turn into a dangerous stall if Chengdu aren't careful, if they don't get quick cleanup kills.
Right now they take down Bernard. They're still at a healthy full 6. You look at the health bars here, you look at how many are up, and Leave just goes deep. Meanwhile, Jinmu's cleaning up the front. The Hunters have nearly pushed London off. I don't think London's gonna be able to sustain this for much longer. They do not. And it's the Hunters taking map 1.
I don't know how the Hunters do it. This comp is incredibly difficult to play. One thing I'm a little bit questioning of, though, is the London Spitfire. They're not bringing out the Orisa. I mean, sure, on Gardens, it's a tough comp to run. I don't hate the decision to mirror dive there. However, on the other 2 stages, Night Market, and certainly on Control Center, I think the Orisa is an incredibly dominant choice, especially against a team that you know wants to play Wrecking Ball, that's playing Doomfist. I mean, Orisa is one of the best heroes in the game against specifically those 2 heroes, right? That Halt just shuts down that mobility incredibly effectively. Combo with the Sigma, combo with the Brig, combo with the McCree. So, you know, I think that hero selection a little bit lacking for the London Spitfire. I would like to see them bring out the Orisa. If they're not going to mirror dive, I don't want to see the Rhine. You know, it's just too difficult to play against Wrecking Ball. Your life is hell. You're just being booted back and forth forever, never able to actually walk forward, which is the one thing you want to do on Rhine.
Yeah, I mean, especially against someone like Among that's such a master of controlling space and getting out alive in most situations. But right now, here in the Countdown Cup, it is the Hunters up 1-0 over the Spitfire. Can the Spitfire rally? We'll find out soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
pools are gone. Chengdu don't care. No issues. Just play Wrecking Ball wherever. I mean, if you can make it work on Control Center, that's it. Like, it's over, you know? Like, where can't you make it work? It's like one of the worst stages, you know, so enclosed, so difficult to fight. I love the way Chengdu played so aggressively that they're even taking those poking dives in the enemy spawn, knowing that as long as it's only the Wrecking Ball who falls, that he'll be back to contest the point in time. So they're really playing off the spawns, playing off how quickly Wrecking Ball gets back to the fight. And in that sort of high-tempo style, you need to be doing that to charge your ultimates to stay ahead of the game. And, you know, playing on the edge that way, it's risky, sure, but it's what you have to do to make the Wrecking Ball work.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing, too, for Chengdu is that they're really good at just disrupting the opponent's rhythm, right? Where already you're playing against a team that generally deviates from conventional styles quite a bit, so practicing for them can be difficult at best for many teams. But then when they add in some of the aggression that was going in there, where you look back at Control Center, it's a perfect example, right? How many times do you see teams try to actively, aggressively engage before you walk through the first doorway heading into the point? It just doesn't happen very often. But Chengdu there, they were willing to throw in that aggression to continue to keep the Spitfire uncomfortable, and it really helped them out, especially on Control Center.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the reason you never see that is because we never see teams playing dive, in fact, on Control Center. That's so incredibly rare. So I love that Chengdu, you know, they're not going to try and play as if they're a slow composition. When they are on this aggressive dive style, they need to stay aggressive, play at that high tempo, especially for their DPS players. You know, if Ameng doesn't go in that way, his DPS players aren't going to be able to keep that DPS tempo up, getting that stuff like the Dragon Blade up before the enemy supports have their defensive utility.
Well, speaking about Among, Among is getting subbed out for Elsa as we head into Numbani, so if nothing else, it should signal that Chengdu is probably not going to be running as much of ball here, if any, on Numbani, because, of course, you just subbed out your ball specialist. So it is going to be a different look from Chengdu here, from the looks of it. And for the London side, we got Glister subbing out as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Hunters, this could be a sign of switching over to a more Orisa-based style, I would imagine. You know, bringing in Elsa, I think that's most likely the idea to force the Orisa comp. And I think it makes sense, to be fair. This first point on Numbani is notoriously difficult to crack, especially against an Orisa comp. You know, it's interesting because this is a map where, you know, at least in my mind, I would think Wrecking Ball could work, could have some potential. But clearly, if the Hunters aren't playing it, there's no hope. So, like, you know, if you're going to play it on freaking Control Center, you're going to play it everywhere. Yeah. So if they're not going to play it on Numbani, then it's not possible. Nobody can do it. Just give up now. Play Orisa. The meta is here. And that's also Orisa's homeland. The lore counter.
Yeah, I mean, the lore backs up. And I just love the reverence that's going here. It's like, oh, man, if they're not running it here, I mean, everyone else just pack it up. It's done. It's over with. Chengdu has spoken. Now, I am interested to see what happens with the Spitfire here, because you look back at the last map, the Spitfire weren't necessarily that far off, right? I mean, one or two different fights on Control Center, and it might be the Spitfire they're up 1-0, despite some troubles that they had over the course of those rounds. So, I mean, this is still a very winnable series for London.
Yeah, absolutely, ZP. It wasn't far off at all. You know, I am a little bit disappointed in the Spitfire, though. I really would have loved to see an Orisa come out. Less in terms of actually loving the hero, more in terms of, you know, for London's chances to win, because, you know, playing the mirror against the Hunters doesn't strike me as the best idea with how comfortable the Hunters are, especially on the Wrecking Ball, Jinmu on the Genji, Leave on the Doomfist. They're just dictating the pace of the game entirely playing this comp because they understand it so well, and that means you have a player like Kyo who is basically just free sitting in the back. And, you know, the idea normally playing against those comps is the highly mobile heroes, they're very difficult to punish, but the Ana is the vulnerable one. But the fact that Chengdu just keeps the pace up so hot, so aggressive, it means that it feels like you never really have the opportunity to get to Kyo, pressure the backline finally. And, you know, when he does deliver the Nano Blade, that one crucial fight, I think, for the Chengdu Hunters, it was just such an easy cleanup for Jinmu. They were able to hold on to some other ultimates to sustain the point cap going forward.
Now, as we head into Numbani, it's interesting that we're talking a lot about point A and how difficult it could be the crack. But the other thing, too, is that, you know, for Numbani, a lot of teams will get through point A, and then the real sort of barometer is once you get to point C, right? Where we've seen so many times in Overwatch history that a team will actually easily get through points A and B and then just run into a brick wall on point C. Now, based on the two styles we've seen from these teams, what team do you think is going to have a better chance of just defending on point C?
Well, I mean, I think what's interesting now is this is the test of the Hunters playing this Orisa strategy. I would assume, You know, well, let's see what they actually come out on. It's possible it could be, you know, some dive variant, but I think that point C is really where the Orisa starts to sink its teeth in. I think point B is arguably better for dive. There's a lot of mobility, a lot of flanking potential, but points A and C both are very limited in terms of how you can actually get behind in a relevant way. And, you know, a hero like Orisa just holding it down in the cart, you know, halting at the choke, so difficult to deal with, and it really enables especially your Sigma to charge up those ultimates so quickly. So this is now, I think, a big stylistic shift for the Hunters. Maybe just the idea is to, just to play the Winston over the Wrecking Ball. I'm actually quite surprised by this. They must really value the Winston highly if they're going to actually switch their main tank to play the strategy.
Yeah, one would think, and you take a look at this here from both sides. For now, lore advantage or no Orisa showing just yet, though of course Spitfire can swap at any time. The Hunters are a little bit more committed here, and you know, regardless of what's being run on the tanking side of things for main tank, Late Young is still absolutely devastating on the Zarya. Jinmu and Leave have both been hitting their stride. I mean, there's scenarios here on Nambani where you just lose to the DPS characters.
Yeah, especially with Veltal on his signature Mercy, that's really going to enable Leave to get those one-shot headshots on the 200 HP characters on the other side. So it's going to be pretty tough, I think, especially for highly, you know, Bobble, you know, uncloaking, you just run that risk of getting one-tapped, right? And it's something that's very difficult to play around. You can't really play around it sometimes. You just need to take that risk, hope that Leave misses his shots, but it's not a great bet today.
Yeah, it's not one I would ever want to take, that much is for sure. The Spitfire, throwing the Babbles, will be able to build a quick EMP here, 10% so far, and the Spitfire already taking their time to go in, looking for the dive. Jinmu moving in, applying pressure to the J-Mac, who gets slept. Now, just in a tougher spot, able to get away for now. Dives back in. The Hunters, though, protecting their backline quite well. Kyo is looking low, gets healed back up by Vettel. Leave now under heavy pressure. Bernard is able to finish him. And that's a good start here for the Spitfire if they can keep everyone alive. They've taken down both DPS members of the Hunters, and Elsa's not looking particularly healthy either.
Yeah, and the Mercy is being outvalued here, which is pretty rare to see. Recon does come in for the Hunters. They want to fight this out, but losing their Zarya, that's so crucial. You are going to put the nano onto Elsa. He's trying to zap down this break, but it's actually Veltal in the save. Manages to get that kill.
Nanoblade lanes the fight for the Spitfires. They're losing control. It's enough to take down Elsa. Oh, that was nice. The upwards flick from a bow. And the Spitfire, that's going to give him point A.
Although with the Genji, ooh, that shutdown on the Valkyrie was disgusting.
That was just, that was a Sixth Sense going on there where we saw from the point of view, that was just like, take this out, immediately flicking to the skybox and taking down the Mercy. Oh man, that was great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then the 180 slash to actually get the finish kill. And I love that, you know, you watch all those POV, he kept hitting the Winston and looking up over and over and over again, waiting to finish the kill so that he has that dash reset. We see why. I mean, he makes perfect use of it.
Early fight starting Bob here from Leave, and I think that just to give Chengdu a little bit more space as they head back on in. Also holding on to the Primal, and this is a dangerous area to be up against a Winston with Primal. Environmental kill is definitely something possible. Spitfire, speaking of environmentals, you got J-Mac going for it in the back. Meanwhile, Elsa was Primal and got slept. Now Bioed, Elsa's getting crushed in the back line at the moment. But Jinmu pulls out the blade, finds Sanguinar. Hunter's still very much in a good spot.
I believe that's a one-man EMP to shut down Jinmu's blade. I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, it does stop the dash resets, but Jinmu, he's still alive. He's still wreaking havoc, and the nano was saved. So now Elsa goes in, and Bernard gets shut down, and this is a really rough spot to be losing fights. You're so close to your own attacker spawn. Should be in a very advantaged position, but doesn't work out that way this time. As I say that, although with the nano blades coming up next, we saw how devastating the last one was.
Yeah, the interesting part here is that point B, Nambani, you can be a little bit more spaced out. So even though I think you could potentially have a good nano blade here, there are ways that the Hunters can make things difficult. And the Graviton, if it comes up, that's going to be one keyway.
Yeah, definitely. Late Young does manage to charge it up. This is going to be the skill tester right here. Can he find the way through, split the wickets on Genji with this nano blade? Tank's getting low, so this is going to make some little bit more space for the Spitfire. I love that they're saving the blade. They don't want to commit it too early.
Late Young just
that is
wants
the
to grab
grab, though. Ooh, I mean, it does get one, but now nano blade uncontested.
Although moving in, knows there's no more grab, looking for the Ana, slicing to the back. And more of the distraction for Hylie and J-Mac that just walked up the front. Still good enough for the Spitfire, taking down 3 of the Hunters. down to 3 of their own, but not much of ability to stand the point. Bob will help for a little bit, but not for long.
Yeah, they bubble leave, trying to get him out of here, so he survives the dive from J-Mac, and Bob is still stalling card. Maybe he's asleep, but he's doing something.
I mean, for Bob, he's getting rust on the job and still accomplishing it. And it buys the Hunters enough time. Now the Hunters back into the fray, up to a full 6 once more. Babel, though, the EMP is built up. Jinmu's blade almost there. You have to be looking at the EMP here. Babel rotating around.
Ooh, could be a big
The
one.
highest value possible. This is looking good. Drops EMP, hits 4. And how's fall through going to be there? Late Young certainly can't survive it, although just dash resetting his way into the back.
Oh wow, Nanoblade is going to be committed. It's an absolute all-in for the Chengdu Hunters. Complete confidence in Jinmu, but this is very risky and it doesn't seem to have paid off. He only gets 1 kill. Surely this is enough to close out the point for the London Spitfire.
I mean, that's just going to the idea of any fight is winnable no matter what. Kyo's down, Elsa's back into the fight, and the Hunters, normally most teams would give up here on point B, but the Hunters are just trying to bring it back. They take down J-Mac, I believe, and Elsa gets the juggle on the Hylie in the backside. There's no way. The Graviton invested towards the end. And if nothing else, the Spitfire did have to invest a little bit more for this point than they might have wanted.
Yeah, that's an absolutely fearless commitment. It pays off a bit in terms of ultimate economy, but and you did stall a little bit of time, so I think it's not the worst thing in the world for the Hunters. It could have been a lot worse, to be fair. However, now you're going up against double support ult, and you don't really have a way to start this fight off. Late Young has 20% left to get the grab, but the question is, will he be allowed to finish that ultimate off with Sanguinar sitting on a rally? They could get very aggressive on the London side.
Got the hack in here early from Jinmu, the Hunters. Trying to dive in off it, leave. Black Battle, the aid of Kyo. Hunters right now, I mean, most teams I'd say don't dive any further, but the Hunters, you're never quite sure.
Actually, I think that's pretty sick from Jinmu. He broke the enemy TP as he was getting forced out on his own Sombra play, and that's what made Babel overextend, right? Babel was just relying on that teleport, trying to escape with it. So that really bridged the gap, and you know, now that moment of no ultimates has passed. Chengdu, they've got the grab at least. The question is, will the EMP just shut that down before it begins? No, it's perfect.
Graviton, ooh, that's a nice grab. Pulls in 3 from the Spitfire. The fall through though, it's not there immediately. Babel gets dropped the EMP, and it's a huge EMP. Sets up although, gets into the back, finding 3 thus far. Aided by Hylie. And that went bad in a hurry where 3 members of Spitfire were nearly dead, Jake, and they just barely got healed up enough.
Well, it was a beautiful grab from Lei Young, but the follow-up just wasn't quite there in time. The rally, a little too much from Sanguinar, kept everyone up. Chengdu, though, now back firmly in command of the ultimate economy. And EMP as well. This should be a clean-up defense fight here.
4-man EMP coming in. The Hunters following on through, and that's pretty quick cleanup, I'll say.
Yeah, solid commitment, EMP, rally, nano, and, you know, just send London packing. Don't let them charge any ultimates. Don't allow the fight to extend. And although he does have a blade, but what is he really going to be able to accomplish with it? Maybe he can combo the grab. However, are you going to be able to find a good grab on defenders, right? On attack, I think it's much harder to find that big grab because the defenders, they're naturally going to be split up playing the map control style.
Hunters right now looking for this one away. Leave, gets the stick onto a Genji of all things in the back, although out of the fight. The Graviton though, in from Bernard, deals with Leave right now 5-on-5. Late Young looks a little bit wounded, but doesn't matter. Still wins the battle versus J-Mac. Now healed back up, and the Hunters going even deeper as only 24 seconds remain.
Yeah, it's the Hunters playing on such an incredible aggressive pace here that is buying all the time in the world. And Lei Young, wow, what a disgusting pace of charging that grab. He's got another one ready for this last fight. And I don't think Although is going to be expecting this. If he initiates with the Nano Blade, he could be in for a world of hurt coming up against the grab. However, you do have the EMP. It could potentially shut down all these ultimates off for the defenders.
Jinmu, a little bit low, still a bit away from the EMP. Graviton going to be used early here from Late Young. Ends up falling for it. We'll take down one, although here's the blade. Takes down Leave, looking for a little bit more. Dashes over. Now onto Elsa. Had the Primal, still alive. Spitfire. 5 players still remaining. The Hunters a little bit wounded. And a late swap on the Rhine here, Jake. And the EMP is ready.
He switches back over to the Zarya, switches over to the Doomfist as well. A little bit of last-second adjustments. They do have an EMP to enable this comp, though, so regardless of the adjustments, this EMP is going to be massive. onto Zarya and Genji. Could be enough. Sanguinar barely surviving, and Lee finishes the kill. That should be a defensive victory here for the Hunters, unless JMac gets the 4th C9 of his life. But yeah, 1 versus 6,
Unlikely.
man against world.
So the Hunters, a pretty devastating defense here on the Bonnie. They stop the Spitfire from finishing out. It is still point C, so it's not unheard of that the Spitfire could have a better defense. But right now the Hunters are in an excellent spot.
Definitely, this is very winnable now. You've set your win condition on the map. However, this is Nimbani, right? So we have to get through that first point in particular before we see the the clock, the ultimate status. At that point, that's when we'll have a little bit of a better idea of how winnable this game is.
Take a look at replays here. Easy grab setup. There's the stick.
Oh, it's the Zarya bubble from Bernard. That was the crucial saving moment that kept this offense moving, kept it in contention. So pretty incredible timing from Bernard. To use that bubble early, it could just get broken. The pulse bomb would deal full damage. So that timing is so critical from the Zarya, showing why this Zarya hero is so impactful when you're playing this dive comp. It's a hero that's on a knife's edge. You can carry the game, you can do an incredible amount of damage, have high impact ults, or you can just die for nothing, especially when there's a Sombra on the field. Get EMP'd, you're down to 200 HP, and you have a huge hitbox. You're like even worse off than a normal DPS in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, Zarya definitely one of the heroes that falls into the category of feast or famine a lot of the time, where under the right circumstances, with good energy, you're just insane. You're more valuable than most other heroes, but you have situations where maybe you don't land a few good bubbles, maybe the situation is against you, and it's tough to get anything done.
Yeah, and now the Hunter is going to still come out with a Mercy here. Pretty interesting on offense. Should be, I guess the idea is to give Jinmu just as much enabling as one Genji can receive. However, I think this Brig from London Spitfire might get a ton of value playing up against Tracer and Genji.
Hunters right now setting up their dive, and a little bit of a change up here. Vettel heading over to the Brigitte. And although their heavy assault here gets away, the Hunters right now really taking their time, Jake.
Yeah, Bobble looking to change position a little bit early here in the fight. Jinmu gets chopped up. No chance to survive that.
Lo's been looking very, very good here so far. Clean Genji gameplay. Takes down his opposing number with a little bit of aid from the Ana. And you notice today that this has been a great day for Ana DPS, just in general. I mean, these Anas have been aggressive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Jinmu just overextended quite a bit there, especially now that the Brig is online for the Hunters as well. What I'm worried about now for the Hunters is that they're out this Tracer, but Sombra is just a better hero if you're going to play this slow value trade style, especially because he's got this mega packed hacked. And that's normally what you want to be eating all the time on offense playing this low ground. Nano available, probably going to go onto Elsa as he initiates this dive.
Elsa, the one to kick it off, gets Nano on Winston and the Spitfire. They're just running. They're going, no, we don't really have to fight you right now. And not a ton gained. I mean, a little bit of positioning. And now Elsa going to continue the assault. Now down the Nano, but JMac down. Leave able to find him early. Although, still a threat in the back. After the EMP, the DPS for the Spitfire just continuing to clean up.
What an impact fight from Bobble. The tracking looking on point right now. Going to refresh the hack on the pack as well. Adds insult to injury there. And these tank ults have been very slow to charge for the Hunters. That was a beautiful peel, especially on that Nano Winston. He really didn't get the value he was looking for there. And now going up against the Nano Blade are the Chengdu Hunters. They don't really have a proper counter, and here it comes.
Although as the Blade takes down one already, goes after the Brigitte. And I feel like as a Genji player, there's always like a feel of satisfaction that moment where you take down the Brigitte going, no, I'm not scared of you anymore.
Yeah, the hunter becomes the hunted. I think that's the thing you're looking for there. Genji, a DPS player, but actually the natural prey of the most dominant hero in the game, Brigitte.
Just not when boosted up by Ana in that situation, as it turns out. But the Hunters, they're charged up, they're ready to go. With the minute 20 left, this is a fight that they must win. Leave right now on the top. Graviton in from late young. Is the pulse bomb going to be there? Bernard's already down. Graviton in from Bernard at the same time. Does slow the Hunters down a little bit. Leave went for the stick. No one down just yet. The Spitfire 5 on 6. JMac moving over. And that's a Nano one to leave while this is going on. Nano Tracer of all things for a little bit of pressure here. Hunters are pushing the Spitfire back. Now the Spitfire, they need to touch a point. Jinmu Blade though, midair, slices down a low. and the Hunters maintain their control and get point A.
I actually love this blade from Jinmu, especially because the Nano already came out of the leaf, so the value you're going to get off the blade, questionable in the next fight. You don't have a combo. Take the 1K blade, switch to the Sombra more critically, and now you can match up, I think, a little bit more effectively, where now the Tracer doesn't need to be in this pure flanker defense role. She can be a little bit more aggressive because Sombra can be playing to hack those aggressive targets, create space for her backline. So I think this comp is going to do a little bit better for the Hunters, and now they've passed the toughest test, I would argue, on Numbani, which is capping first point. From here on out, it is easy going, frankly, for the attackers, as long as they can snowball the fights.
Of course, we do get a little bit of a replay here. Meanwhile, keep an eye on the lower right because the fight is underway. We got Elsa already leaping in. They lose leave immediately in this fight while it's going on. So Chengdu off to a tougher start here on point B.
Yeah, potentially could slow down the offense. Now you've got a Nano Blade and an EMP online for the defenders. The key, though, on defense is you don't want to commit these ultimates. You want to make the attackers come in with their own ultimate commitment and then just respond defensively. That's the perfect place for an EMP to come down. We'll see how Babo manages to do it. Elsa with a good clean dive, but gets, I believe, solo EMP. So they need to kill this Winston before he gets Primal off, and they manage to do it.
Just barely. He was spamming on the Q key, you have to believe. But now that they are Hunters, you lose your Winston that early. Solo EMP or not, you don't really feel great about trying to continue to move back in. You wait.
Yeah, you reset, but you did have to commit the Nano from highly, and I think that's a big issue now because, yes, you've got Blade for although, but without any assistance, this ultimate is not really all that effective. So could be a bit of an issue there that they expended the Nano to finish off that Winston kill.
Meanwhile, the Hunters, they take the initiative again. Nano onto Elsa. Down here in the corner. Booped back and away. Primal still in reserve. J-Mac out of the fight immediately. And the Hunters keeping up some real pressure here, Jake. And Elsa's pressure should be enough. The graviton from Late Young, just to be sure.
Yeah, nice counter on the Blade. And that's the problem with having no Nano. You're just so vulnerable when you get grabbed. There's nothing really that's going to keep you alive. All that unblockable damage that Deep Light doesn't help you with that's being run in this comp. And now Chengdu, they've got their win condition right in front of them. They've got an EMP to help them accomplish it. It's at least a 2-fight scenario. If London plays this fast, Chengdu's going to need to win 2 fights in order to close out this map. But that's
takes
a
down
huge opener.
Yeah, the Spitfire, I mean, at this point, you look to the grab and the EMP where the grab has to be step 1. The problem is that the Hunters, they keep up the aggression. They can EMP end this now. Leave, though, gets caught. Bernard drops the early grab, and I think that was a smart grab.
Yeah, I think you'd actually rather use grab, despite it being one of the most expensive ultimates in the game, I believe. The EMP actually is, I think, more significant here. It gives you that ultimate counterplay potential where even if you're behind an ultimate economy, you can win on the EMP. Now the risk, though, for Bobble, if he uncloaks and goes for a play here, Jinmu is ready to break that TP, so he can end up beating, and there his TP is broken, and the cleanup's going to come in. So nice, intelligent play from Jinmu countering the enemy Sombra.
Jinmu holding on to the EMP. The Hunters only need one more good fight to take the map, go up 2-0 here in the series. And I look towards Jinmu, gets the hack, although nice shield coming in. And now Jinmu's gonna drop the EMP, and oh, wow, that is overkill. EMP pulse bomb, although just getting beat on from all sides. But the Hunters, they have their opportunity. They're moving in. Babel used the EMP. The Hunters were able to shake it off. Elsa now going for the Primal, slept in the back, and no one wakes him up. Giving the Spitfire a little bit of a reprieve as Bernard so close to another grab.
Yeah, Bernard took the Nano there, and for good reason. He's so close to that next grab, drops it instantly. Isn't enough though, the rally break. She's taking so much pressure, but she's surviving.
Bernard out of the fight, the Hunters in prime position, 6-on-5 as they move forward, and it's Leave, one after another, it's Leave, make it 3, 4, Leave going wild into the back, and that's gonna be it. Leave just crushing the Spitfire at the very end, and the Hunters are up 2-0.
Beautiful work by Leave in that final cleanup fight. Oh, that grab was just on a knife's edge from Bernard. He charges so quickly, but the damage just wasn't quite there. The rally break, the raid boss, as she's so known in the ranked ladder, getting healed as well by her Ana. So difficult to pump damage into her, shut her down. And I think really what that came down to was just the aggression from the Hunters. That's what they've been showing all series long. They're very comfortable dictating the pace of the game, starting fights off, and Jinmu, such a nice job in particular countering that enemy Sombra TPs. So she ends up going for a farming phase in the backline and has no escape plan at that point.
I mean, again, I think the motto for the Hunters is any fight, every fight is winnable. This is not a team that really likes the idea of resetting. I mean, we did see it on occasion over the course of the round, particularly when Elsa ended up falling first out in the middle of the Spitfire. But other than that, I mean, the Hunters, this is a scrappy team that tries to take everything possible.
Yeah, this moment was so critical because, you know, Bobble, he didn't even necessarily need to go for this play. He was just trying to create some space for his Winston and, you know, maybe bait some cooldowns so that the Primal could be more effective. But when you lose your Sombra that early in the fight, she is a key damage hero, right? And not only the damage you're relying on her for, you're relying on her for the hacks at the same time, shutting down the mobility from those highly mobile dive heroes. And here we get to see this beautiful replay.
Yeah.
Leave just clean up frags. You know, everyone's about 1 HP when he gets the kills, but hey, it counts for something.
Yeah. So the Hunters, they are up 2-0 here over the Spitfire. This has been a crazy fun series so far. Let's see what the conclusion will be after the half.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Back to Cheez-Its, are we? So apparently, my phone was blowing up. I guess there was like halfway through the body, there was like an entire section where it was just like a coke can of this awesome. Return to crunch time. It's time for our Cheez-It Grooves game break. Not I was going to say grain break, and that just makes no sense. Game break. And Jake, this has been a pretty crazy half of Overwatch, where even though the Hunters are up 2-0, the Spitfire, they've been making it pretty close all in all.
Yeah, definitely. But I would say the ball is now firmly in their court. They've been losing these dive mirrors pretty handily, I would say, to the Chengdu Hunters. There have been those close moments, but overall, there hasn't really been a winning moment for the London Spitfire where they're really, you know, setting up a win condition close to closing out the game. The maps are close in the sense that team fights go both ways, but that's more the nature of the ultimates. And I think when it comes to the overall tempo game, the way it feels to watch this game, it just looks like the Hunters are firmly in control.
And that, of course, is going to bring us to our Cheez-It Grooves crunch time. That's right. You can't have a game break without crunch time. And, Jake, we didn't even pre-prep on what it would be, but there's a lot of crazy moments. What really spoke out to you?
Honestly, you know, what's a real crunch time to me is the solo EMP pulse bomb onto all those Genji. I mean, come on. Like, I get it, the guy popped off. He had some sick blades. You know, he dashed up and chopped off Veltal's head on the Valkyrie blade. But, man, don't do him like that. The solo EMP pulse bomb. Like, he's just a Genji. He's a little Genji. Like, let it be.
Yeah, if you're a player in that situation, you just see them using that many resources on you. Are you equal parts both going, yeah, of course you should, and then also, oh my god, I can't believe you just used all this on me. You're breaking the rules of engagement.
Yeah, I feel like for all those, I'm doing my job. Like they need this solo EMP pulse bomb. I mean, they need 2 ultimates to kill me on the flank after they hack me. And I mean, sure, he gets the job done, and somehow the Hunters managed to have a good engagement off the back of that. But yeah, that's a pretty incredible commitment. I think Jinwoo was expecting somebody else to be a little bit close by, maybe catch a Brig in there, catch an Ana, deny a little bit more utility than just the solo kill on the Genji. But hey, you do what you got to do to win the team fights, especially for this Hunter squad. I think in a way that's emblematic of what they've been doing all match long, which is just being incredibly aggressive, making sure that they're setting the pace of the game, which is hard to do at the Overwatch League level. You need to be on a really next level of aggression that people aren't prepared for. You have to be going beyond what they think is possible, and certainly the Hunters have accomplished that, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because so much over the course of the season, the Hunters have played their own style and fallen short, right? Where the other metas have just been overpowering. But there just seems to be something particular about this meta that really lets the Hunters play more their style, and rather than coming up short, dashed against the shields of their enemies, now they're just flying high, and they're one map away from advancing even further into this Countdown Cup.
Yeah, there's a reason they are at this number 2 seed. On the other hand, though, for the London Spitfire, I feel like they haven't done their homework here, right? Like, why go into this match forcing the mirror against a team that is so incredibly comfortable, and that is what they want to play? What this says to me is that London really does not want to play the Orisa comp. They really don't feel strong on that style. I think that is your best odds against the Chengdu Hunters, though. Play these incredibly slow Orisa comps that focus on halting and picking off enemy DPS or the enemy wrecking ball. And just, outlasting fights with an immortality field and a rally. Sure, it's not the flashiest style, but it might be the one that Chengdu Hunters struggles to deal with. It seems that Chengdu has evolved to a state where the mirror match is an incredible comfort zone for them, frankly.
Well, the Hunters, things are looking good. They're one map away from advancing. Will they complete the sweep? Find out just after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
炸掉一个，还可以。急速火箭弹幕，这波还是
explosive damage. And Legend Spitfire, they come out of the Graviton shirt.
炸死一个，这波是能保住，但是残局上面的话已经伤害不够了。成都人气杯已经把大招交完了，但是
He's gonna rock on a hard place and Glister up close and personal. And then had Babel sitting back, ready for that shot to come through.
The Hunters are up 2-0 over the Spitfire, playing their style, having fun doing it, and looking good, Jake. Now the Spitfire looking for a way to rebound. They have to reverse sweep if they're going to do it. Do you see a path?
Well, you can't argue with the results so far. The Spitfire, they've so far seemed very committed to playing this dive style. They have had moments of greatness, in particular, although on the Genji has really shined brightly, you know, having some pretty disgusting Dragon Blades. But however, that's not enough to carry over the line right now. The Blade, the Nano, those aren't going to be up every single fight. And the Hunters are just so much more effective playing this high-paced game style, especially when they go to the Tracer Sombra comp. I think that's where they look their absolute best. And if we do see more dive continue to be played on Temple of Anubis, which normally I would say is unlikely, but in this match, I feel like it's just got to happen. It's the Hunters and the Spitfire. These teams just want to play this. Then I think the Sombra is going to be particularly impactful. Just a very critical dive hero if you're going to play this style on Temple of Anubis. So many packs to hack, so many great flanks to come in from. So I think the Sombra is going to be really impactful, and so far that's been playing to the Hunters' strengths.
You know, sometimes when I look at the Hunters, I just think about advice that your parents give back when you're in high school, right? They go, oh, ignore peer pressure, just be yourself. And then inevitably, most people just give in the peer pressure. The Hunters just like, yes, we will be ourselves. And in this case, it has been working out really well over the last few weeks. And, you know, if they take Anubis here and now, Jake, they're on their way to the semifinals tomorrow. So, you know, for the Hunters, it's looking good.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly have the road to victory laid out before them right here. And to be honest, the way the series has gone, I'm not optimistic that this series is going to go past 3 maps. If we continue to see this mirror match, the Hunters just look better at it. Spitfire, they are playing well, but you're going up against one of the very best teams in the world at this style in particular. You know, just especially with the ability to switch Elsa in on the Winston. You know, I thought it was for the Orisa, but the Winston, he's actually looking really clean in this hero, looking like he's been putting a lot of time in, grinding it out, getting that Winston to that high level, because the Primal, to be fair, is an incredibly practice-intensive ultimate. Very, very precise using it. At least the presence of the Sombra makes your life not easier, but simpler. You can't jump anymore, so a little bit less complicated to use the ultimate at least. If Jinmu plays Junkrat here, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, I'll just note that in case you missed the beginning of the stream, we've already talked about Junkrat, so we've filled the bingo square, but talk to us a little bit more about Junkrat here on Anubis, especially on defense, where I know you've talked at length about trap spots and everything else. You know, what makes him so good here?
It's a great Junkrat map. However, typically you're going to want to play this hero with, you know, something like an Orisa, you know, to set up that combo with something like a halt and, you know, hold the choke. What I am most worried about would be if London were to run a hit scan, which in this case they're not. So there won't be that hit scan taking the high ground, poking down from above. That's where Junkrat, I think, really struggles without shield. So in this case, he's actually pretty well set up to fight both the enemy DPS.
And of course, even as Junkrat is a threat in the front line, Leave has been a huge threat into the back, taking advantage of any chaos that the rest of the Hunters bring to bear. Both Genjis right now just sharing a little bit of love taps, and all right, gets a little bit deadly, although having the back out for now. And the Spitfire off to a little bit of a sluggish start here, where you see the dive in and then the leap back as the Hunters just kind of winning in the neutral game here thus far.
Yeah, they do have a natural defensive advantage here as Jinmu picks up one, and that reset is going to be pretty costly. The sleep comboed as well. Perfect timing from Yveltal in particular on the damage boost. Comes in at the exact moment that Leaf strikes, and it's so critical for a kill like that. You know, if you don't have the damage boost, you won't be able to one-shot Brig.
Look at how much Leaf has built already, Jake. This is insane. 91% to a blade. There's winning in the neutral game, and then there's that.
Yeah, he's just dominating it. You know, Bernard is going to be able to farm up a ton of ult during the charge just by getting high energy off the spam from Jinmu. But, I mean, so far, London just not really getting too much at all at this offense. Maybe looking to nano in here, start the fight off.
Well, they're going to start with the nano on the JMac, but Leave takes the opportunity to blade the back, assassinates Iana, and now decides, all right, I'm going to chunk through that electrified monkey. And for the most part, it does force JMac back, although Jinmu out of the fight, it's... It's a little bit back and forth between the two. Leave right now, though. Gonna head in from the top, takes down Although, and just surgical.
Yeah, really nice work on the Genji by Leaf to dominate this high ground with the help of his Mercy. Such a critical thing to do when you are running a Mercy. You need to be dictating the pace of the game. If you sit back, if you play passive, your Mercy is going to get jumped on, she's going to die. So the more you play aggressive, the more you dominate the high grounds in particular, the more flexibility your Mercy has with her mobility. And that really adds a lot, especially as Jinmu has a tire. So, you know, the dive is going to be pretty sketchy coming into a tire. You don't have a nano, which is one of the only things that would enable you to survive that ultimate.
Well, the tire, it's on the way. We got the tire point of view. No. Okay, it went for JMac, and JMac was not there at the connection. Maybe it was Nano that saved him. It wasn't even Nano, it was Primal.
And just didn't actually one-shot him. He didn't dead it early enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Primal came out in time or not, but the EMP is going to be dropped here. Late Young, in response, getting Nano. This is a charged up Late Young. This is scary.
That's just one of the best cases, you know, really in the game. When you get EMP'd solo like that, they're trying to burn you down, and you just take a Nano. And you know, who needs an ability when you have a Nano boost on? Just a perfect counterplay by Kyo there. And, you know, in a way, I think that's a more ideal usage of the Nano than comboing the Blade, because you have a Mercy to pocket the Blade, so the Nano isn't quite so necessary. And at the same time, you're up against a grab, so the Blade might get nothing anyway. And in this case, you don't need to invest 2 ultimates into that. You're not going to overcommit into a Graviton Surge. So maintaining the ultimate edge are the Chengdu Hunters. London have nothing here.
Yeah, and London, they also don't have time. 44 seconds left. They have to go up against a very unfavorable situation. Elsa just dives in, takes down the Brigida, use the Primal to get out. But this is going to make the Spitfire essentially have to force this next fight.
Yeah, with this little time, you might be needing to have somebody like Bobble just touch. Oh, and another pick comes in. I mean, this is the danger playing against Junkrat. This is one of the worst case scenarios where you're not even really getting fights. You're not even really forcing ults. You're just dying pre-fight. So you do have a Sombra who most likely will be set at the touch point. The risk is you're just going to be coming in with the Nano Blade. Lei Young is going to be holding the bridge here with the Graviton Surge, and although needs to dodge this ultimate.
Spitfire, they have to go. This Blade has to be huge. Hyley's already out, although comes in, finds 2, and they put the fight in overtime. The Spitfire, a little bit of a burst of life here. The Hunters down the 4. Here's Jinmu with a tire that could take them out here and now. That's enough to take down, although see if it's enough to win the fight for Nar. Late Graviton, his own cleanup is there, takes down 2. Late Young in and out. Now where's Jinmu here? Jinmu's in the backup point. Ends up falling. The Hunters trying to straggle their way back in. Elsa back into the fight. Even Elsa both down. And I think the Spitfire got this.
Yeah, they do. Spawn so long in overtime. Should be no way to come back in, although manages to find his way into a trap there. A little bit comical in the post fight. But they needed to commit EMP just to close that out. They were so worried about the final recontest from Leave and Elsa, just showing the fear that the Hunters have struck into the hearts of their opponents. And Jinmu not going to be on the tour, but I actually like this hero here. I think it gives it a lot of survivability against dive. You know, as long as you don't get EMP, you manage to get your armor off, you're a very hard target, and the turret is particularly annoying for heroes like Sombra. You can just interrupt those hacks constantly.
Yeah, I mean, the turret is essentially an obstacle that you have to deal with every time, and it's more than annoyance, it just buys you space for the team that's defending, and it's something that both Olo and Babel in particular are going to have to respect. Spitfire leaping in. This is JMac that went into. Meanwhile, the Hunters, you just counter dive the other way. JMac's off on his own on point, gets primal, slept, woken back up. And the Hunters, I mean, this is a little bit of a chaotic defense with how spread everyone is, but so far it's working out. They're very healthy here thus far, Jake. The Spitfire getting pushed back a bit.
Yeah, Torb is so effective in the neutral game here. You can see Bobble has really struggled to get much ultimate charge at all here on second point. He's just poking from the off angles, but it's not really going to get you ult very quickly, and tempo is everything. You have 150 left on the clock due to that first offense going so poorly. Now Elsa setting up with another potential Primal Rage. He can just drop in on the Hyley.
Elsa has to be careful though. Elsa's banking on the Primal. Is getting very, very low. 98%. Leaps away. Doesn't have to use the Primal to survive. And everything went well for Elsa there. Great play.
Yeah, it's all about these neutral trades in the high ground, but Nano Blade, that could be critical. You don't have a proper counter. Lei Young only 80 to grab, so although he could put a period on this map, get a secured cap for the London Spitfires, here's the entry.
Nano Blade, here it is. And although it'll be the hero once more, looking to Elsa, cuts him down into the sky. So close yet so far. Bernard dropping the grab midway through. Resurrection, though, onto Elsa. The fight gets Nano, and Elsa an impediment once more. Plenty of cleave damage, and here it is, the orange lava. And that puts the Spitfire in a bad spot as Jinmu clean up. And, you know, heroic effort from below, but it's not going to be enough.
Actually, best lava color in the Overwatch League? Thoughts? Yeah. I think so.
Actually kind of looks like lava in the real way.
Yeah, genuine. So, and that's a great combo too, especially in this comp where you don't have a proper support ultimate, like not like, you know, a sound barrier or a transcendence that is really just going to overload with healing. So the Graviton Surge plus Lava, use armor from Brig, it offers almost no protection. It's the worst case scenario.
London's going in right now. If you look at the lower right of your screen, the Molten Core is great and all, but now look to London as they're setting up here. Although JMac, both pretty low. They get out, they heal. The Hunters right now sitting back. Elsa ready the Primal. The hack is faded. I think Elsa's going to be going for it soon. The Primal is out. Meanwhile, although has the blade, the Nano not quite there yet. The Spitfire, they need to keep this in overtime. JMac heading over. Primal faded. Looked, although they're waiting for the Nano Blade, and they're actually going to get it. Highly, the Nano's ready to go. The Nano is out, although in to the fight. Takes down one so far. Dashing to the back. Looking for the spawn door. No, not quite enough. Yveltal down. And although deciding they go back to the rest of the team, we're going to focus on the point. The Spitfire, they've already gotten 2 ticks. The Hunters now trying to delay, trying to bring this back. But the patience of waiting for the Nano Blade, Jake, I think it might have done it.
Yeah, this slow play pays off big time on second point for the London Spitfire. Bernard has grab, Bobble has EMP, so another nice big EMP on those recontesters. Kyo's still alive, but now he falls, so that's the resources for the defenders all gone. And London managed to get a second point cap when it looked pretty tenuous there.
I really liked, there's 2 things that happened there that were impressive. One is that Highly bridged the gap of the last bit of ult needed for Nano very quickly. Like, Highly was at like high 70s, low 80s, and you blink and suddenly Nano is ready. And on the same note, time's running out. Like, we've already caused overtime. And the Spitfire, they just wait for the Nano. So many times in so many other teams, I feel like the Genji just would have said, okay, I'm just going for the Blade. Although, waits for the Nano, and it really pays off big.
Yeah, discipline and patience, they matter so much here, especially when your team is playing the neutral game so effectively. You know, here we see this Nano turn. This is just such a huge moment in the defense where you could have easily seen this fight go the other way if that Nano wasn't just perfect, making sure that Lei Young does not fall. That Orisa is arguably the most crucial component in your defense. The one piece that not only does she have a very slow rollout, so dying is really painful for her, but also she is your main damage dealer when it comes down to a raw tank trade. You need somebody to just break shields. There's nobody other than Zarya who's actually going to do that. And is this an Orisa in a Hunters game?
It is. However, they're on the attack. Believe nothing.
Yeah, we'll
until they're actually out of the gates.
Yeah, okay. Nice debate, Hunters. I think they're actually doing that to fake out Bobble, who's scouting the spawn on Sombra. Could be worth something, you know, maybe distract the enemy, make them talk about something irrelevant in the pregame. You know, every advantage matters.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's like, wait, are they really running this? Is this the Hunters' MO? Oh, wait, no, it's not. And now the Hunters, again, taking the initiative. Highly aggressive here in the beginning, just trying to fight the Spitfire off this middle high ground. Young getting hacked. Elsa eats the Bionade, now looking for a way out as Bernard goes wild, taking control of the room and pushing the Hunters out.
Yeah, that started to look pretty good for the Hunters. They had a nice little surround going, but London managed to stay alive. Nice nade from Highly, sends Elsa packing, and Bernard just gets the cleanup frags there. The real damage was coming through from JMac and Although, who have a big lead in the ultimate charge. However, I do ultimately like this Tracer Sombra style leave. He just needs to find that one opening, that one pulse bomb stick when Bernard doesn't have the bubble to save. And I just think this hero plays at such a fast tempo. The downside of it, though, is fighting into Dragon Blade is very hard.
It's not going to be great against Altho's Blade, and speaking of Altho's Blade, it is almost ready to go. Elsa looking pretty low, although at 90% right now. Jinmu and Leave both pretty low, both get away, healed back up. But here's the problem. Altho's going to have Blade as soon as the Hunters decide to commit here. Elsa hopping on to the point. The Hunters now making their move, and 3 down already! Although had no time to get the Blade.
Yeah, and the Nano was wasted there as well, so coming back into second point, you won't have that combo, although he probably won't be able to wait this time on his blade. And Chengdu Hunters, I mean, they're in great position in terms of ultimate economy. Just snowball the map right here, right now, and that sets themselves up with a very achievable win condition in the next round. So London, they need to cobble together a defense here. You cannot allow the Hunters to get through with this much time on the bank.
Yeah, the thing for the Hunters, they're not going to wait. They know they have the ultimate advantage now, even if they have the EMP at the ready too. So although his blade, not necessarily a winner. They're setting up as we speak. The EMP already out to Jinmu. And the Nano onto Elsa. J-Mac out of the fight. And look at Although, he's been hacked all the way through. Gets hacked again! It was the EMP first, a hack after. Still can't bring out the blade. The focus fire onto Although. Insane from the Hunters. And now EMP from Babel a little bit later. The problem is the Spitfire. They don't have the personnel. We're going to see Although try and come out with an emergency blade. But everyone from the Hunters is still up. Although, mission impossible. Moving forward, takes down one. But that is it. Late Young is prepared, and the Hunters about to blow away the Spitfire's time.
And here we're in a situation where, I mean, the series is all but over. London Spitfire backs against the wall in the absolute worst, most punishing way possible. You need a full hold for 4 minutes and 15 seconds on Anubis first to get the draw.
To get the draw, not even to get a map win, just to keep the series alive. Well, I got bad news for you, London fans. This one is just about all but over. Unless your team commits one of the greatest first holds in Anubis history by turning all this around, holding for the full 4-15. It's not impossible, but man, is it going to be tough.
I just feel that the mental challenge here is the worst of it all. The fact that you just know that even if you manage to do this incredible feat of skill and teamwork and perseverance to hold this point, that you're still down 2-0 in the series. You still need to win 3 more maps to come back. I mean, the road is long. The winter is dark and cold in London. They're right in the middle of it. Not much light. There's a faint glimmer, but it's so distant. Chengdu Hunters are ready to pounce, continue on in this Countdown Cup tournament.
I mean, the other thing, too, is that trying to defend against a team as unpredictable as Chengdu for 4 minutes and 15 seconds on point A. I mean, you think back to the first defense, that was just a moment ago. The Spitfire didn't fare too well. This would be a crazy turnaround. Or just the biggest throw of all time by the Hunters. While not impossible, I just don't think is likely. But we'll see. Spitfire, do you have what it takes? The clock has started. It's a long way to go.
I want to see Jinmu and Lee just forcing point. Because with one tick, you can just pressure this point, and somebody has to respond. London, they don't have a Tracer, which is really the hero that you would want to take that sort of trade.
Although, again, finding himself under heavy focus fire, both him and J-Mac. If J-Mac goes down here, Although, who's hacked in such a low position, barely gets away, and the Hunters get punished for the dive.
Yeah, the all-in commitment comes through from the Hunters. I guess they really thought they could win the fight in close range, but Bernard just absolutely beats them down in that situation. I don't love trading with a team like London Spitfire that's sitting on the high ground, that's playing that small defensible room. They want to be there for obvious reasons, right? Let's see your Brig and your Ana stack up, group up with the tanks as well, drop those big nades, and look how much ultimate charge Bernard's getting out of these fights. So Chengdu, I really want them to be forcing points, splitting up the London Spitfire. Don't fight them as a unit.
There's a road back from the Spitfire. It has to start this way, but J-Mac needs to stay alive. So low on HP from the neutral of the Hunters. Leaps away with nearly nothing left, healed back up. Unless the Spitfire still with a chance. Bernard very close to the Graviton. The Nano is ready. The Hunters, they're going to Nano first. Elsa diving into the back, gets hacked. Slept, woken up. The pressure's still there. J-Mac is down, couldn't build Primal in time. And now the Hunters a big advantage. Also going to use the Primal. Heavy focus fire off the Bio Nade, but Late Young is free to run. The Graviton comes out late for the Spitfire. Bernard falls for it. And the EMP with only 3 left remaining, it's not going to be enough. The Hunters, they take Anubis, they take the series. It's a sweep, and they're looking better than ever.
Just outplaying on the dive. They're the better team, frankly, in this style. The way they play at such an incredibly fast tempo, the level of aggression, I think it's really unmatched by almost any other team in the Overwatch League right now. The Hunters really, I think at this point, they're reaping the rewards of forcing this style for meta after meta after meta. And for a long time, people thought they're just bashing their head against the wall. They'll never break through. They'll never be able to make it work, but they absolutely have. And at this point, other teams are starting to follow. Other teams starting to feel like they can't win playing those slower styles. So I'm pretty surprised to see this. I'm curious to see, will this continue on going into the rest of the tournament? But what an exciting match, ZP.
Yeah, very much so. And, for the Hunters, sometimes you look at it and go, don't adapt to the world, make the world adapt around you. Maybe that's the motto, but it does bring us to our player of the match presented by Xfinity, and it's Leave. And, Leave's showing some surprising versatility and just great gameplay all around.
Yeah, just a dominant tracer. I mean, there's a reason this hero is the icon of the Overwatch League, right? It's like the definition of ridiculous skill ceiling in Overwatch. The potential of a tracer is obvious, it's incredible, and it's a joy to watch. Something like next call dots, knowing when to point protection, when to play point, and when to kill. I think for a team like ours, that's such a great asset to have in the lineup. Some explosive tracer player is going to utilize that skill to create an activity.
Yeah, and I think that can't be understated, right, between Jinmu and Leave both, where we talk a lot about the tank players and the Hunters, how crazy aggressive they are, especially when Among is in the fray, but you need players that can take advantage of it, and there's no better brawlers around than Jinmu and Leave, and, again, this just seems to be the Hunters meta, and it's been a joy to watch.
Definitely. I love seeing the Wrecking Ball on Lijiang Tower, then the Winston. Elsa and the Winston looking great, looking well practiced. Clearly, the work has been put in to really elevate his gameplay on that hero. I think this has been a bit of a renaissance season for tank players. A lot of them have picked up more heroes in the pool. The difference between off tank, main tank, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. Those distinctions are maybe archaic, are maybe going away as we see more and more players diversify across those halves of the role, if you will.
Well, that was only our first match of the day. Still more action yet to come. We'll be back after a quick break.